Hi, everybody. This is Mark, and I'm ready for another episode of Beyond Profit, a Global Perspective. Today, I'm going to be asking a question that a lot of people ask me about, and that is the government ever helpful when it comes to the promotion of global business? Before we get started, I wanted to just invite everyone, if you like the content we're providing here, please like and subscribe. Please support this channel. A lot of times as business people, we assume that governments should just get out of the way, let us do our job, and so on. But there actually are some situations in which the government can be extremely helpful. I'm going to just name a few of them, and then I'm going to tell you a story. So one way in which it's very helpful is it can facilitate trade by dropping trade barriers, by opening up trade opportunities. It makes it a lot easier anyway for businesses to go and do what they normally do and make lots of money. Second, it's not everybody's favorite thing, but it is certainly helpful to those businesses it affects. That is subsidies. The government can offer subsidies to certain businesses, encourage certain forms of business that they think are in the national interest or for one reason or another they want to support. A third way in which they help businesses is by providing a solid rule of law. This is kind of the reverse of the whole subsidy situation, but by basically establishing laws and rules that are being enforced equally, they establish a level playing field, a predictable set of rules, a safe environment, and an opportunity to reduce risk. This is particularly important if you're operating domestically, but likewise, when you're thinking about expanding someplace overseas, it's definitely got to be part of your risk equation. The fourth is that sometimes governments negotiate with foreign governments for access. This may not necessarily be a free trade agreement, but it certainly opens opportunities for businesses to go into places where maybe they ordinarily wouldn't be able to do that before. Another example is through free trade agreements, right? These opportunities where governments, sometimes more than one government, will negotiate a common agreement and set up the rules as far as what it means to trade with each other or to exchange labor. Now, the final example I'm going to share with you is in an old video that I uncovered. Yes, a few years ago, I gave a little talk on this, and I'll just basically bring back this old piece of footage because I still think it's a great story and it illustrates something else anyway, a different way in which the government can sometimes be helpful.
Is there some way in which government might actually be proactively helpful as far as promoting trade internationally? Well, let's say that you want to open up new markets in places in Africa. You know, one example that I often talk about is Sudan. It's going to split into two pieces, right? You've got a north and a south. The south's relatively impoverished. It's going to be its own country and all that. And you're looking at opportunities maybe to, take advantage of cheap labor there, or take advantage of cheap resources, or even to sell stuff there, okay? So how are you going to do that?
Start with government aid.
You create a positive relationship between the governments, and that sort of greases the wheels to some extent as far as businesses going in there. Okay, I think that's a good answer, right? But there's also a more practical way in which something like foreign aid can actually be a benefit to businesses, okay? Here's the question. Let's say that you want to get your product to a market someplace in the middle of Sudan, or you want to get stuff from the middle of Sudan and get it to a port. How are you going to do that? You need a road, okay? And who's going to pay for a road? Which government? The U.S. government. Yeah. You think the Southern Sudanese government is going to be able to pay for a road?
No, the North got all the oil.
Exactly. Yeah, or they're going to work that out. Who knows? But it's going to be hard for them to pay for anything. Okay, so if you're an American business that wants access to a market, you're going to rely on the government to pay for something that's going to help facilitate your transaction. I mean, it goes back to the interstate highway system of the 1950s, right? Eisenhower basically gave the biggest public works plan in our entire history in terms of cost. Built the interstate system. Did he do it so that you guys would be able to get on Route 66 and drive down the road and just sort of have a good time on vacation, that kind of stuff?
No.
Yeah, well, maybe yes, a little bit, but that's not the big thing, right? What's the main advantage?
Moving your money around.
Yeah, you can put semis on the road and move stuff efficiently from point A to point B. If you don't have good roads, then you can't have good commerce. If you don't have good commerce, you can't be a rich country. Okay? The same thing is true. If you want to be able to exploit opportunities in poor countries, then sometimes you have to do that.
All right. So, grainy video, old-time television set, right? Well, it still it illustrates an interesting story, right? What it describes is a collective action problem. That is something that would benefit everybody, but nobody wants to do it, right? When you have multiple businesses want to enter into a situation where, say, the infrastructure is bad, why would company A invest their money in putting that infrastructure together, building those roads, making things happen, if one of their competitors, company B, doesn't have to pay a thing and they end up getting the same benefit from that? So my argument is, or at least a lot of scholars' argument is, that's when the government steps in to provide opportunities so that businesses can equally benefit from some of these opportunities. Keep in mind, I'm not trying to take sides here, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be politically riled up based on the argument that I'm trying to make. Just trying to describe reality as it is. You can think this is a good thing, you can think this is a bad thing, but these are definitely things that are happening right now. Obviously, like with my point number one, when governments are dropping trade barriers and facilitating trade, there's lots of money to be made. The less restriction there is on business, the more money they're going to make. But there are ways in which governments can actually advance the interests of business. Whether you like it or not, that is definitely part of the equation. Thanks everybody for listening, and if you like what you hear, if you're enjoying the content here, please support us by liking and subscribing. For Beyond Profit Global Perspective, I'm Mark Harvey. See you next time.